Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. Today's trivia theme is NBA, because we know how much Russell loves the NBA. And in our second segment, we're going to introduce Desmond Gumbs, who's the athletic director at Lincoln University in Oakland, California, a university that's been around for over 100 years. Also, Desmond is in charge of BLK Prime. He'll explain what all that is about. And we've got some interesting topics to cover, like the Spurs choosing Frenchman Wemby, the league's most hyped prospect since LeBron. Now, that'll be very interesting. Definitely some changes going on in the NBA with Chris Paul to the Warriors and Jordan Poole gone. Russell, what do you think about that?
It's a big move, and it will either pay off in another championship, or it may throw the entire franchise in disarray in a spiral that it may never get out of. All dynasties have an end at some point in time. Is this the end of the dynasty?
Well, it would have been nice to get Chris Paul a few years ago. How old's he now?
38.
Yeah. I mean, I know he can still play, but boy, at age 38, maybe he's thinking this is his last hurrah.
It probably is his last shot at winning a championship, but also, at 38, it gives him the opportunity to come off the bench with some grace and impact for a team that might still challenge. Whereas opposed to, I don't think he's got what it takes to be a starter for a championship team.
Gotcha. And it's funny because I wonder what kind of reception he's going to get in San Francisco, because the Warriors have always had it in for, untuck. Remember that?
We cheered for Swaggy P, and we cheered for Matt Barnes, and we cheered for Durant. So we'll cheer for Paul as well.
All right. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be back with our guest, Desmond Gumbs. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. And we have in the, I like to say in the studio here because it's on Zoom, Desmond Gumbs, who it's kind of interesting because Desmond and I have we've never met, but there's been these interesting connections because of a business colleague and then a friend of the show, Steve Baker. Desmond, welcome to Sports Econ 101.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, so we understand that you're the athletic director at Lincoln University in Oakland, California. And it's funny because I actually had never heard, I've heard of Lincoln High, but I think that's in San Francisco. But I've never heard of Lincoln University in Oakland.
Right. So Lincoln University is a primarily international business school that's been around for over 100 years. Oh. And we just started business school. And I like to say, by the San Francisco Business Journal, we're number 4 business school in the Bay Area, behind Stanford, Cal, Santa Clara, and then Lincoln. So we're real proud of that. And we started athletics 2.5 years ago.
Wow. Okay. It's funny. I went to Golden Gate University, which is very much a business school. We used to tease that all we had, we didn't even have a chess team, no dorms or anything like that. How long have you been the athletic director there?
I started the program, so it's been about 2.5 years.
Wow.
With the borders being closed a few years ago, and primarily as being an international school, our president, Dr. Mikhail Brodsky, is a pretty smart man, decided the fastest way to grow enrollment is to bring on athletics. So myself, along with other candidates, interviewed and fortunate enough to get the position, and we've been thriving ever since.
That's quite a big undertaking. I mean, I actually started. I had started the tax division at Dominican University here in San Rafael, because I just said, hey, why don't you guys have a tax division? Because they had just accounting. And I said, that's pretty good. Why don't you go ahead and do it? And then I just taught one semester, and then I was gone. So I don't even know if they do it anymore. But what I did was a lot easier than what you're doing. I mean, to start a whole sports program. I mean, it's
a challenge, and it kind of coincides what I do in my private life, which is business, because basically what it is a startup. But I want to say something about Dominican University. The connection there is our first ever women's soccer team played Dominican University. Last year. Unfortunately, we lost, but it was our first ever game. So that was an exciting moment.
Oh, okay. That's I like that. So how many different sports do you guys have?
So right now we have six sports, and I'm currently just hired a baseball coach last Friday, and I'm interviewing a series of coaches for our women's softball team. So the goal is this time next year we'll have 10 collegiate sports at
Wow.
Lincoln.
Yeah, I used to coach girls softball. I was never the head coach, but I was always like an assistant coach for my daughter all the way up until, and it's weird, once they hit high school, it's
Yeah.
sort of like, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Brown. And then they just kind of they have their own things. And
Right.
then you actually have quite a famous coach for basketball.
Yeah, so after I got the position, the first person that I wanted to go after and hire was Gary Payton, which was a wish list. Gary and I live in the same neighborhood, but I didn't know him. I would see him at the local Safeway, but I didn't know him, so I had to jump through all these hoops to get to him, and then eventually we were able to get on the phone, and I went by his house, and I talked about our vision, and basically our visions kind of coincided, and here we are. 2.5 years later. Gary Payton, Mr. Oakland, Mr. NBA,
Yeah,
Hall of Famer, is our basketball coach, and he's doing quite well.
that's awesome. And in addition to being the athletic coach, are you also the football coach?
Yeah, so I hired myself as
Yeah.
the football coach. So that was an easy enough job search. But yeah, I've been the football coach for this past 2 years, and we're going into our third year, and I'm very excited about our season. Our first two years have been challenging. Putting
Yeah.
together a collegiate football team, and going against well-established programs on the Division I level was quite a task. But I think year three we'll hopefully we'll add a couple of notches on the win side. So
Well,
we'll see.
especially when you have to play Notre Dame or USC. I mean, that's got to be pretty tough. So, I mean, is it D3 or?
So right now we're classified as accountable opponent, which means we can play a Notre Dame down to a Willamette, which was our first win. We had a Division III team up in Oregon, which is Willamette University, and we got our first win in school history. So I think we're going to probably plan out around a Division I FCS area. We do have 8 Division I games this year, so we're real excited about that, and they're all televised on ESPN.
Oh, that's awesome. I gotta think that's gotta be really expensive to start a program because, the uniforms, traveling and all that.
Yeah, they're very expensive, and the university is committed to the athletic program and had made the initial investment. And our hope is that the Raiders left the Oakland Coliseum, the Warriors went across the bridge, and the A's are contemplating leaving. So our idea is that we can be Oakland's team in all sports. So that's the vision, and
Oh,
hopefully
that's
the
cool.
community of Oakland will surround themselves around Lincoln University, and we can be that shining star in this area.
I bet they do it too. I mean, if you're not going to get a pro team, but the next best thing is college. And what other college teams would there be? I mean, Cal's got their own. I mean, you're kind of close to Cal, but
Yeah, so
yeah,
we're the only accredited university in Oakland. With the recent closure of Holy Names, we're it. And so I think that the ground is fertile, and we have an opportunity to really capitalize on the opportunity to be Oakland's team.
okay. And Russell, I noticed that you're muted now. I don't know if you have any questions for Desmond on this. I'll go ahead and keep talking until you interrupt me on that. But that's really interesting. How far do you guys travel?
So this year, the furthest game is going to be New Haven, Connecticut. So we fly to Connecticut. We also fly to Tallahassee, Florida. We're playing FAMU in Tallahassee. So it's 12 weeks of getting on the plane and going to these different stadiums. So it's pretty exciting, and very exciting for the young men that are playing for Lincoln.
Well, when the interesting thing is you're a business school, so most of these guys are thinking about business, and how do you suddenly start recruiting for sports, and then how do they balance out? I mean, I remember having a friend of mine who actually played for Cal, and then he actually made it to the NFL, and his life consisted of school, studying football, sleep. That's it. Because
Yeah.
you have to graduate.
Right. It being a business school, I think it's great for these young men because everywhere you turn, there's some form of business. So you're learning those principles, whether it's marketing, economics, accounting, all these things plays into everyday life, and they're getting the best of the best in terms of our professors. So I'm excited for these young men getting this great education at the same time, fulfilling their dream of actually playing collegiate football.
Yeah, I always wondered how that worked with, let's say, you guys traveling to Connecticut, for the air time, the time of practicing football and all that stuff. When do these guys have time to study?
Yeah, so it's pretty good. Most of our students go Monday, Wednesday, and Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for their education. We practice in the morning, right? So all the football is done by 10:30 a.m. And most of them have a blocked schedule from 12 to 3:30 p.m. And they have the rest of the evening to study. So it's worked out pretty well.
And I had a question. And that is,
and you would happen to ask this question like within 30 seconds of when we have to cut to a break.
Well, it's a quick question. It's a quick question. And that is, you said that the head of the department of the school is Mikhail Rotsky?
Yeah, Dr. Mikhail Brodsky, yes.
Brodsky. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Rotsky. I was wondering if he was related to Ed Brodsky, who runs the LA Kings. But I thought
sounds a little different. Okay, I'll tell you what. On that note, we are going to cut to our first commercial trivia question here. I think I asked this once before, but I'll ask it again. All right, here's our trivia question again. Desmond, if you know the answer, don't answer it yet. We'll let you answer when we come back. Talking the NBA here. Who or which team drafted Kobe Bryant? All right. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to that question, and stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with first of all, our co-host Russell Jackman, who finally asked one question, and then our special guest Desmond Gumbs. Excuse me. First trivia question: which team drafted Kobe Bryant?
I'm going to take a shot at it. I'm going to say the Philadelphia 76ers.
No, I remember that Kobe said he would not be drafted by a number of teams, including the Warriors, who wanted to draft him. And so he wound up going to the Charlotte Hornets and getting traded immediately that night for Vlade Divac.
That's right. Very good. All right. You're 1 for 1 there, my friend. All right. So
big what if, though? What if he had been drafted by the Golden State Warriors or the Sacramento Kings? What kind of a different, world this would have been had Kobe Bryant gone to, a different team instead of that big trade that happened. So
yeah, good point.
We'll never know.
No, that's true. So Desmond is the athletic director at Lincoln University in Oakland. How did you approach the school and say we wanted, or did they recruit you?
Yeah, so I heard about it. I heard about the opportunity, and I reached out, and I was fortunate enough to get an interview, and from that interview was a series of meetings with the president and the board of directors, and ultimately they elected me. So
that's awesome. So that is your full-time job now, right? I mean, it is a full-time job, isn't it?
Yeah. It is my full-time job, and I'm excited just every day to getting up to going to work.
I got to figure you wear many hats. I mean, because it's probably not a big enough school to have a guy who just handles the travel and someone who just does the PR and someone, who buys the uniforms.
Yeah, no, I carry bags. I fill up water.
Okay.
You name it, I do it.
Good. You know what? I like a good humble spirit. That's good. I mean, and you know what? I bet the players appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool too.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. Do you guys have any prospects who you kind of look at and say, hey, this guy can actually go to the next level?
Yeah, we do. Fortunately, we do. I like to think that we'll have many prospects in the near future. And Steve Baker already has his eye on a couple of our athletes. And don't want to mention their names, but I think in the recent months you'll be hearing about them. We were able to have our first pro day this year, which was huge for us, being an upstart. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were in attendance, and also the San Francisco 49ers. So we were really excited about that, and hopefully, this time next year, I should say next year, we'll have all 32 teams.
So how does that work? Where I'm just trying to think of like, if you're a player and you come from a small place, if you're not getting enough recruiting around you, how often is it going to happen that they're going to want to transfer to a bigger name school?
With the NCAA portal, students transfer from Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, USC. It's open, so it's not necessarily whether the school is small or large. A lot of times, players feel they have a better opportunity at different institutions, so they make that decision to leave. Fortunately for us, we need the players, so our depth chart is not as big as it would be in Alabama or in Oklahoma, or in Oregon State. But because they're here and we're small, the students are fulfilled because they get the opportunity to get on the field.
Yeah, they're bigger fish in a smaller pond. And if they're
Absolutely.
really good, they're really going to stand out.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, and so how do you do your recruiting from high school players? Is that
Yeah, from high school to bounce back from Division I Power 5 programs. In fact, we had our first big recruit, Amir Reed, who transferred from Ohio State, and he is now with Lincoln University, which was huge. The young man had some Title IX issues, and unfortunately was released from the team and was exonerated from the accusations against him, and he has a fresh start with us. So to have a Big Ten corner from Ohio State now in Oakland at Lincoln University is huge for us.
And did he live? Did he come from the Bay Area?
No, he had no connection to the Bay Area.
Wow.
It's funny. I was reading the article about him, and I reached out and was able to make contact with him and got him on the phone and got his advisors on the phone, and we were able to get him out here for a visit, and he loved it, and he's here to stay.
The thing I really would appreciate is if I'm a player who, maybe I'll make it to the to the big show, so to speak. But you never know if they're going to get hurt. But if you're in a business school, I mean, these guys, they got a good education to fall back on, which I think would be a really good recruiting tool.
Absolutely. And we're in Silicon Valley too. So our professors have tentacles throughout Silicon Valley and a lot of these, companies, and, Clorox is in our backyard, Uber's here, Yahoo, Google. So, these companies here in California rule, pretty much run the country, run the world.
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity to be in a top 5 business school here in the Bay Area and play football is a pretty great recruiting tool that we've used and have been successful with.
Yeah. And
can you tell me what it's like to work with Gary Payton? What Gary Payton's like and what he contributes as a coach?
I guess the easiest way to say it is just stay out of his way. just stay out of his way and give him the support that he needs. Gary is wonderful because Gary is passionate about everything. I would say that it's similar to the way that he played the game. Very tenacious, very aggressive, very sure of himself, and he's taken the program by the horns. And you're going to be hearing about Lincoln basketball pretty soon. In fact, we have a NBA prospect on the roster right now. So in any given practice, you'll see NBA personnel actually in the gym with Gary watching our practices. So I think if there's any sport at Lincoln that's going to be reach the destination the fastest, and that's mean having our players play professionally, would be the basketball team. Gary's just done a phenomenal job. And I'm just super excited about him.
How can people who are interested in these games see them? I mean, do they have to go in person, or is there internet coverage for these?
Yeah, most of our games there is internet. I'm hoping that a local station will jump on board with us and be able to televise our games. I think it would be in their best interest too. So we've had a couple of conversations last year trying to link in a local station. Those talks are still in process, and I'm hoping that this year we'll be able to televise a couple of games here locally on broadcast TV. But all of our games are online.
Well, one of our previous hosts for many years on the show, who just recently got promoted to the KPIX, Vern. Yeah, do you know Vern?
Yeah, so Vernon came out to our press day for our basketball team, and he's there, and he covered Gary. So we got good coverage on the news. But yeah, he is a supporter of Lincoln basketball. So hopefully that will continue on.
Well, and Damian Lillard came from Oakland too, so I could definitely see you guys getting basketball would be the big, especially since when you have to field a football team, you're talking at least 11 players on each side, versus basketball, you don't have to have that many players. And
right, and the good thing is, in terms of recruiting, not every day you get to play for a Hall of Fame legend, top 75 to ever do it. So the recruiting is really, I won't say easy for Gary, but it's easier. And if you're a point guard and you have the opportunity to play for a Hall of Famer and to teach you that game, you want to jump on it. And I think it would be, in addition to playing for Gary, just a great opportunity for any player in the United States to come to Lincoln to get the business education.
Does GP2 ever stop by? Does the son ever?
All the time. Nice. All the time. Any given practice, you just walk in there, you're going to see an NBA, player. Gosh, I can't call his name. From Shaquille O'Neal to all the to Jay Green from the Warriors. Just about every time I go to the gym, there's someone there.
Wow. So maybe the
Byron
Warriors
might. You see Byron Straw all the time in there.
Even the Warriors might pick up someone from your group one of these days, or are you looking at maybe sending some guys directly into the G League and being able to have them develop from the G League then to the pros?
Yeah, any opportunity that our players have to play professionally and make the type of money that they get, I would encourage it. I still would also encourage them to finish their degree, but it's very rare that you get selected to join that fraternity of NBA basketball. So if you have an opportunity to play, in any league, I would definitely support it.
I agree with that myself too, because you never know if guys are going to get hurt, and take the opportunity when you can. Yes, it's hard to go back to school, but it can be done. Whereas if you get older, like at my age, I don't think I could play in the NBA. Had nothing to do with the fact that I wasn't good enough. It's just that I'm old,
Right.
All right, you guys ready to cut to our second commercial break here? And I think I think Russell, I'll be very disappointed if you don't get the answer to this one too.
I got the first one right.
I know. That's what I said. I said two because you got the first one right. All right. We're talking the NBA here. All right. The Sacramento Kings recently retired the jersey of a player who wore number 2. Who was that player? That's our trivia question. Email edward@sportsecon101.com. Stay with us. We are going to continue on with Desmond Gumbs, who is the athletic director at Lincoln University in Oakland, who started the program a couple of years ago. It's very interesting. I love talking to him. All right, stay with us. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101 one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman and our special guest, Desmond Gumbs. Second trivia question. The Sacramento Kings recently retired the jersey of a player who wore number 2. Which player are we talking about?
Well, let's give Desmond a chance to pipe in if he, guess first.
I will pass on that one.
Pass on that, Russell.
And jersey numbers are not my strong suit, by the way. That's just for trivia questions. But I think that you're talking about Mitch Richmond, aren't you?
We are talking about Mitch Richmond. Holy smokes, the man is 2 for 2.
The Rock.
The Rock. That's how I keep Russell coming back each time. Before, when I ask him these hard baseball questions from the 1800s,
oh yeah,
he gets all frustrated with me.
Yeah, he has questions like, who is Honus Wagner's next door neighbor and stuff. that I cannot answer. What did Babe Ruth have for lunch every other day? Stuff like
always
that.
A hot dog, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Next time it'll be Honus Wagner's neighbor's plumber. That's what yes.
Yeah, we get close to that. So
all right. So again, Desmond, you've got at Lincoln University, you've got football, you've got basketball, you've got women. You do have women's softball, or is that going to start?
So that's going to start soon. We have women's soccer and men's soccer.
And men's soccer. Okay. No baseball team though.
Just hired a baseball coach Friday.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Frank played in the major leagues, so drafted by the Dodgers. He coached at Holy Names last year, so he will be Lincoln University's new head baseball coach.
So now, how do you do this when it's brand new? How do you field a team?
Yeah, recruiting. Most coaches have relationships with different high schools and colleges, so it's pretty easy with social media and Twitter. Like the football team, we had over 300 applicants just for football.
Really?
Yeah. So with social media and Twitter, usually, and just normal relationships that coaches have, it's pretty easy to get in touch with players.
Interesting. I guess it's kind of a nice little part in your resume if you say, yeah, I played college football, or something like that, college baseball. Wow. Who knows? Maybe you guys will go to the College World Series for baseball.
That's the plan for not only baseball, all sports.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, you start success breeds success, I would think.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Gonzaga, small city in Washington. They've done with their program, and they're a fixture in the tournament every year. So we're kind of looking at Gonzaga as some as a organization, as a university to kind of pattern ourselves after. The great thing about us is we're in the 6th largest market here in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
So I think that is definitely doable with the right supports that we have.
How many students go to Lincoln University?
Small. So I think at the highest they've had just over 1,000 students. We're below 500 right now, and building.
And do you have dorms and all that stuff?
Yeah, so we have campus housing. Basically, what the university does, they lease apartments around the Bay Area, and we place our students there.
Okay, because I'm just wondering, like, where all the students come from.
Yeah, most of our students are in Alameda, maybe 10 minutes from campus.
Okay.
So it works out pretty well.
Yeah, when I went to Golden Gate University, because it's more of a commuter school,
commuter campus.
Yeah. It's just there is no campus. I mean, there's a campus for learning, but that's about it. It's just a building. Right. Yeah, Interesting. Russell,
what field do you play on? What?
Right. Yeah, so all of our practices are at College of Alameda.
Oh, okay. And that's the same place where your basketball games are also at the College of Alameda?
Yeah, actually, our basketball games is actually at Laney College.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have a pretty good facility there that we've used this past year for basketball.
What do you think it would take to get the the Oracle?
Not much. I think what's planned, not this year, next year, is we're going to have the Gary Payton Invitational, and we plan on filling up the Coliseum. So that's pretty exciting for us. So that's in the works right now.
Kind of fun to have a scrimmage with the Warriors. I mean,
absolutely. We'll give them a run for their money.
Yeah. Well, how tall is your tallest basketball player?
Yeah, so we have a 7-footer. And
you do?
6'11". Yeah.
Wow.
7'2".
Awesome. Yeah, this guy, the Frenchman, the Spurs chose him, Wemby.
Webman,
yeah. He's what, 7'4" or 7'4"?
Yeah.
Wow. And apparently he's the league's most hyped prospect since LeBron.
Well, I'd say Anthony Davis. I'd say Davis came in with a lot of hype too.
Yeah. I don't know. No, I don't know. It seems
he was the consensus number one. Davis was the consensus number one, and he wound up winning a title with the Lakers, and he's still a contender. So I'd say he's the biggest name since. But LeBron obviously had a ton of hype around him as well.
Yeah, that's the thing is I didn't really see as much hype with Anthony Davis. I mean, yeah, number one is one thing, but to have the extra special hype around him is another thing. Because for years, the Spurs, they had a really good team. They seemed to always sell out, but I guess they kind of dropped off a little bit. But now with this guy, the ticket sales will come back again. Like Desmond, how many people usually attend your basketball games?
So we had one home basketball game this past season. All of our games were on the road, just like our other sports.
Yeah.
But we filled Laney College. I don't think they've had that many fans to view a basketball game, probably ever. We announced the game maybe a week and a half before the actual game, and we filled it.
Well, how many? I don't know how many seats that is.
Don't know how many seats it was, but it was
Okay.
it was standing room. So that is a pretty good indicator that when given the opportunity to be at the Coliseum, the Oakland fans will come out and support.
Now, does Laney have? I mean, if you're able to play there as the home team, they must have a basketball team. I don't know much
They
about.
do have a women's basketball team. They
Oh,
do not field a men's team that I can think of, but I know they have a women's basketball team.
okay.
What we really should do is use our connections to get the Savannah Bananas to go play against you guys in a
Right.
baseball game, and that
Bring it
will
on.
sell out. That will get you in the newspapers.
Yeah, I mean, how much are their tickets going for now?
They're now, I think in San Jose, some of them were selling for $900 for on in the secondary market. So
Wow.
who knows, and they were $150 out in Sacramento. So, if you can, they're pals of ours too. So we can, hook the two of you guys up, and maybe we got
That's
some
true.
real chemistry here,
What's the mascot for Lincoln University? What's
We're the Lincoln Oaks.
the Lincoln?
we were,
Oh,
Of course.
we were the Oaklanders, but this past year, there was consensus we should shorten that name to the Oaks. So we're the Lincoln Oaks.
wow, that's like the old Oakland Oaks from many years ago.
Absolutely.
AVA, yes.
Maybe, yeah. And is that that's throughout the whole school? Like every team is called that?
Yeah.
Well, it saves on lettering.
Yes.
Four letters like the Mets, you get the paper letter.
The A's, yeah.
That's why the A's had it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
A's.
do you feel that the loss of the A's may affect you either positively or negatively?
I think.
Well, personally, I don't want to see the A's leave.
Yeah.
That was my first professional game I ever attended. I was raised here in the Bay Area, and Claudia Washington actually hit home run, and we were my dad and brothers and sisters were sitting in the right field bleachers, and the ball came to us. So just personally, I hate to see them go, but I think again, the ground is fertile. If we put together a pretty good baseball team and the prospects are there and there's a lot of activity, I think the fans will come out and support us.
Can also play football there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I know my first professional game also was A's. I don't remember who they played, but I still remember Rick Monday hitting a home run in the bottom of the ninth. I think it was 1968 or 67 or 68. So we were definitely big A's fans, obviously during the early 70s. In fact, it was so sad that Vida Blue passed. He was a good friend of the show and just a
nice guy.
Really nice guy, just terrific guy. Let's see. Let me ask you also, since we're talking about the NBA. So there's a possible expansion in Vegas, and they're budgeting like $10 billion for a hotel, gaming, of course, and entertainment district. And apparently LeBron desires to be involved. You guys hear about that?
Yeah, I have. We've talked about it on other shows, and I think that's a big mistake if the NBA expands to Vegas, because they really owe Seattle.
Yeah.
If they expand, they need to bring back a team in Seattle. Seattle did not deserve to lose a team. They're a great NBA city. They have a championship in their history. And before, everybody runs to Vegas and thinks that Vegas is the magic land, we probably should see how, the A's succeed over time and the Raiders succeed over time before giving them a third franchise.
And also with the weather being the way it is in Seattle, a nice indoor sport could get the fans out there. I mean, they would definitely support it up there. I wonder why that is. I guess it's a non-basketball situation probably, where there's so much like going on in Vegas, just follow the money.
Well, and teams like to have, the NBA likes to have Vegas there as kind of the boogeyman, to say that if you don't build us an arena, we're going to pack up and go to Vegas. And I think it's kind of interesting. Now that's taken off the table for football. Looks like it's going to be taken off the table for baseball. So how are teams going to leverage, wanting to get a new stadium and saying, well, if you don't give us our stadium, we're going to pack up and go to Vegas. That's always been their open threat. And now that's not an open threat anymore. And will cities call other teams on their bluff when they demand to get a new stadium? They go, well, where are you going to move to? St. Louis? Or are you going to move to Cincinnati? Places that aren't big media markets. That's about the last big media market city that doesn't have a big basketball team. And I don't know if that'll reduce leverage for owners to say, if you don't play our game, we're picking up and going to Vegas.
Interesting. Desmond, you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, Seattle. I mean, of course, personally, I don't want to see Seattle have a team because I probably lose Gary. He told me right off the bat if Seattle ever resurrects their basketball, then he would probably want to be a part of that. But yeah, I agree. Seattle, they do have a championship there. The Supersonics were a great franchise, and I think they will thrive if they ever decide to bring basketball back to that market.
Gotcha. Okay, guys, we're going to cut to our last commercial break here. The show goes fast. All right, back to the Kings. We're talking the NBA here and retired numbers. They have an interesting one. Number 6. Who was it to honor to? Right? So the Kings retired number 6. In whose honor? All right. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman and our special guest, Desmond Gumbs. Third trivia question. We were talking the Sacramento Kings and retired numbers. They have an interesting one. Number 6. Who was it to honor to? This is a tough
Desmond,
one.
Any shot for you, Desmond?
Russ, I'm going to give you the assist.
All right, thanks. I think if I'm trying to remember correctly, but I hope it's Wayman Tisdale.
No, this one was kind of a hard one. This is kind of a trick question. To honor the fans.
Oh,
I guess because like a sixth player. Yeah,
that's a 6 man.
That's kind of a trick question.
They really should honor Wayman Tisdale. That guy was a really good sport, a great bass guitarist that a lot of people didn't know about, and he played really hard for the Sacramento Kings before they became a big item and were now back in the playoffs and have all the excitement. It was one of those situations that I don't know if you remember Freddie Solomon for the 49ers.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure.
That he played his heart out for some of the worst teams that ever set foot on a football field.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are the guys that I respect really a whole lot, are the guys that play hard for teams that are really awful and won't give up even though their teams are 2-14 or so forth, or lose 42 road games like in a row, like the poor Sacramento Kings did. But
remember that.
Yeah, no, I miss Wayman Tisdale. He was quite the character.
All right, we're going to go to our thoughts of the day. Again, Desmond Gumbs, thank you for being our guest today. It was a good show. So here's a question for you. Where do you find a cow with no legs?
Ground beef?
Or, no, right where you left it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And at age 65, my grandma started walking 10 miles a day. She's now 92, and we have no idea where she is. All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week. So long.
Adios. I thought the ground beef